Hi, I'm Melinda Van Fleet, and welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. I'm a success coach, speaker, and business consultant, and my husband Ryan and I were laid off at the same time 10 years ago. We moved to the Florida Keys without jobs, not knowing anyone, hardly any money, and we'd never even been here. But we made it, and now we're living our best lives. And all along on our journey, I've said that someday when we get our quote-unquote shit together, we will help others. And since then, we've both done a lot of self-work and built successful businesses. So that day is here, and one of my ways of paying it forward is through this podcast. Each week, my intent is to be relatable and bring you tactical tips, tools, share my learnings and stories that can help inspire or transform you wherever you are in your career or general life and make an impact. I strongly believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. So what's stopping you? Wow, this conversation with Debbra Lupien, who is the author of Akasha Unleashed, and that's also her website, Akasha Unleashed, is just really incredible. I listened to it again, and just so many great nuggets, so many great ways to start to think about your own self, where self meets soul, which is one of Debra's taglines. It really does make sense. When you start to dig in and get familiar with what is out there in the universe, you start to get clarity and insight. And personally, I developed a peace with my own thoughts, which is what I talk about in this podcast. So I hope you love this podcast. Debbra has a free YouTube reading. Her YouTube channel is Debbra Lupien. I'm going to put all this in the show notes. It's really important. This coming Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and it's Saturday, May 16th, she will have her YouTube Zoom reading where you can literally put a question in the chat for her, and she will ask your spirit tribe for help, for an answer. And I have watched a couple of them. I was on the April 1 live. I had a question myself, and just a really amazing experience, and something to just help provide some enlightenment, some answers, some help, some clarity. And like I said, it's free. So you have to sign up. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Again, it is this Saturday, May 16th at 11 a.m. She does it once a month. So if you're listening to this podcast in July, just know that, still use the same link and sign up. And she does it once a month. And follow her on YouTube. Again, Debbra Lupien, and it's Debbra, 2 B's, Lupien. Her book's amazing. Her readings are amazing. There's literally, I wish I had more words than just amazing and incredible and awesome. So definitely check it out. I've learned so much, and I hope you all do as well. So I'm releasing this podcast a little earlier so I could share about her reading on this coming Saturday. And I really do hope that you all take advantage of it and hop on the call. The other thing I want to quickly mention is that I have reopened my private coaching. You can contact me at melinda@melindavanfleet.com. I love working with people and using all the tools and tips and tricks that I have picked up over the years. If you've been following me and listening to my story, you'll know that I am far from perfect, and I have done a ton of self-work above and beyond. And I love to share that with others and share stories that are very relatable and help people realize that they are not alone. And if I can do it, you can do it too. So if you are interested in having a conversation about private coaching, again, please reach out to me at melinda@melindavanfleet.com. We can schedule a call and see if it is something that is feasible for you. If you're interested, if you think it's a good fit, I would love to help you with wherever you are in your journey, because I know that you can do it. I believe in you. And sometimes you just need a little help along the way, and that's okay. I've had plenty of coaches in my life, and I'm so grateful for them, and I hope to pass that knowledge along to more people. So enough of my chatter. Again, hope you love this podcast. Please feel free to share with a friend or family member that could benefit from this information as well. You can always reach out to me if you just have questions. I'm more than happy to answer some questions. I know some of my podcasts venture into a little bit of a different category that you may be used to or have ever heard of before, and that is completely fine. We all start at that place, so never feel bad. And I'm more than happy to share more information with you privately to help you as well. That's all good. And as always, I love a rating and review on Apple. So again, enough. On to the podcast. Thanks for listening. Hey, Deborah, welcome back.
Hey, Melinda, great to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on this podcast. It's been, in my opinion, a long-awaited podcast because I wanted to read your book, and then we had our reading scheduled last week, and I wanted to check out your YouTube channel. You have so many great things. And then I wanted to be able to incorporate that into the podcast so the audience can learn even more about you and your gifts and all the different ways that they can connect with you.
Wonderful. We're just going to sizzle things up.
Yeah, totally. We're sizzling, keeping it hot. It's good. Because the first podcast that you were on was episode 60, which was an absolutely gorgeous meditation that I love. And I appreciate all the feedback I've received out there from everyone that has listened to it. And if you haven't listened to it yet, I highly recommend it, obviously. So go back and listen to it. But Deborah, do you want to share a little bit of your story and your background? Because we didn't quite dive into that on the last time you were on.
Sure. Well, I'm a spiritual teacher, which I kind of fell into, and I didn't know that until I wrote my book, which is really funny because I'm writing this book and I always just thought of myself as an Akasha Records expert. And my editor says to me at the end something about being a spiritual teacher. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I kind of am. And then it felt so perfect. And then later on, I was calling myself the Answer Diva, which never quite worked. And then one day, I was explaining to somebody that what I do when I channel, I have my live events, is that it's kind of like what Esther Hicks does when she channels Abraham. And I heard this voice in my head saying, no, you're not Esther Hicks. You are the voice of the Akashic Records. And it was another one of those, oh, okay, if you say so. So I've been, feeling my way into those shoes, and it's just now starting to get comfortable and it feels right. So it's growing and stretching me all the time as I share all of this massive wisdom from the Akashic Records.
Oh, that's beautiful. For someone who doesn't know what the Akashic Records are, can you maybe explain that a little bit in layman's terms so people can?
Absolutely. Yeah, if they're familiar with biblical text, it's called the Book of Life. It was something that if they know Edgar Cayce, he channeled from the Akashic Records. So what it is it's like this, I like to call it an etheric database. So all of the information about you since the time you were created, which is probably eons ago, is stored in your own private Akashic Record archive, which is maintained by a legion of masters, teachers, angels, guides, all there focusing on you and you alone. That's how important you are to your creator.
Wow, that is very cool. If someone were to just start to dip their toe into this water, as I did years ago and started to learn, and I love how you said, it's like a learning, it's a muscle and you continue to grow and develop it. How would you recommend someone to start to just kind of become familiar with their guides, and just kind of get a little bit more knowledge bit by bit?
Yeah, that comes up a lot because so many people say, I can't meditate, I can't focus, my mind is too busy. So one day I channeled this meditation called Connecting with Your Guides. So it's a guided visualization where they literally take you by the hand and bring you to them in the fifth dimension where you can connect. I've had a lot of feedback on that particular meditation because, it was energetically coded. And people say to me, wow, I don't usually meditate, but this works for me. So something like that, it's on my website, akashaunleashed.com. They just click on meditations, they'll find it. That's a great place to start. But for me, it's meditation because you've got to get into that quiet space where you can allow your guides to connect with you. And then once you start doing that, it will expand. The important thing to know, though, is you don't have to commit great amounts of time. It can be 2 to 5 minutes. Just do it consistently because, as Melinda said earlier, you're building that muscle.
Yeah. After we had our reading last week and I was asking you how I can connect further with my guides, and you had told me that I have increased my meditation to 3 times a day. And once in a while I remember and get in my 4th. So I've been working on it. I've been working on it. And you know what, honestly, I just love to meditate, which my audience knows because I've spoken about that before. So it just feels good. It just feels good to like clear your brain and mind and just have like a little reset for the day. So I recommend it for that purpose too.
Yeah, even if you just stop and do some deep breathing for a couple of minutes, it's tremendously beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had my reading last week and I just thought it'd be fun to share a little bit because it was extremely enlightening. And I love trying different ways to learn more about myself, really, and to be the best I can be. And when we had our reading last week, I honestly didn't know what you were going to do, how it was going to work. I really didn't know. Obviously, we chatted over Zoom, which is the way to chat with everybody nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was really, really enlightening. And what I loved the best, and I wrote it down, is it made me feel peace with my own thoughts. Does that make sense?
It does. I call it where self meets soul because you are literally being introduced to your soul. You know,
Yeah.
part of this journey as an awakening soul is learning that you're not just this ego body, that you really are this beautiful soul, and there's so much more to you. So learning who that is and how it's wired and connecting with self in that deep manner is transformational. You'll never look at yourself or feel the same again.
It was very cool. So I'm going to read just so everyone kind of understands and has a little background, because this is probably completely new to 90%, if not more, of my audience. You did a soul introduction reading, and we were seeking to discover who I was at the soul level. What are my particular gifts and what blocks exist that prevent me from expressing them? And so then you went in to talk about my gift, and you spent a significant amount of time with me on all of this. It was definitely a deep dive, and I loved how you gave me time to reflect and kind of have a conversation with you about it, which I thought was very cool. You also talked about my tribe, my soul tribe, you know, where I originated from, which is fascinating, and my specialization and my life lesson. So it was just really, really eye-opening and so much clarity and understanding, and different from other readings I've had, you know, whether it's a tarot card or hypnotherapy or a medium. It was completely different. So I thought that was just amazing. And I'm extremely grateful for you. I was able to really process and have a lot of takeaways. And I think that your reading, I like incorporate it now in my communication, you know, stopping to take a moment and feeling at peace with maybe something or someone that maybe rubbed me the wrong way, put it that way, because it just brought some understanding to why I feel the way I feel. It was amazing. You offer a few different readings, I believe, on your website.
Yes.
Can you describe what, you know, each one of them means? Because I don't even know, so I'd love to learn more too.
Yeah, well, I have the soul introduction, which is that deep dive into your soul. And then for people who would just want to ask questions of their guides, we've got a channeled spirit guide reading. So that's just go in, you can ask anything you like, and whatever wisdom they share with you will always be immediately actionable and always what you're needing in the moment, because that's how they serve you best. I also have a birthday reading, which is really cool because every year on your birthday, they throw a big party in your Akashic Records and they archive the records from the past year and start the new archive for the present year. So I accidentally discovered this. I just happened to go in one year on my own birthday and they're in the middle of this party. And so at that point, Isaiah came over, the biblical Isaiah, which is how it was represented to me. And we had this great conversation. He shared a bunch of wisdom with me. And then it was like, okay, we're done. Bye. And I was really puzzled because it's like, wait a minute, you're having a big party for my birthday, but you don't need me? No.
That's awesome.
It's your party, not yours.
Wow.
It was kind of astonishing. And then they went off and they had their party and I had my message and I was fine. So ever since then, just because it's so much fun, I offer these birthday readings. So, and it doesn't have to be on your birthday because the magic of the records, they can go to that date and share with you the message from that birthday. It's always profound and wonderful. So that's a lot of fun. I have some life situation readings. So like if there's something going on in your life that you're struggling with, we can do a channeled session where we go in and we hone in on just that issue and do another deep dive to get answers for you.
Wow, that's cool. And I was going to ask about if the birthday had to be on the birthday. So thank you for answering. I don't know how hard they were celebrating with my last one, which was just a couple weeks ago, because literally I was just home. So if they were partying, kudos to them.
Yeah, they do because
hanging out.
they know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, you're good.
Well, they know what you've gone through in the past year, and so they're celebrating your progress.
Oh, wow.
Because they're your cheerleaders. They are so in love with you and so committed to you that they just celebrate all of your achievements. And of course, they're with you and supporting you and holding you up during the times when you're struggling. So yeah, they celebrate all that you accomplished in the last year.
Wow. Isn't that crazy that we don't take time to celebrate all of that?
Yeah.
Or at all. I mean, honestly, I'm guilty of that.
That's a great observation.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about it actually the other day when I was thinking about just in this past year, how far I've come in learning all these different systems. You get it being in this space. I mean, and you work with YouTube and all these things that we have to learn to do marketing nowadays. And tech isn't my strong suit. And yeah, I think it's important that we all take time to celebrate some things that we've learned. So if you make it your birthday and you truly recognize that it's a time to celebrate, that's pretty cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and even if you don't think you did as much as you wanted to, let that go and just be grateful and celebrate your magnificent self for what you did accomplish, because it's always more than enough.
Mm-hmm. Those are good things to remember. And I bet I'm not alone in thinking that I don't remember that enough. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Your YouTube channel is amazing. You offer so generously once a month for people to, well, it's on Zoom. So I was going to say call in, but it's on Zoom, ask questions to the guides. How did that start? How long have you been doing that?
I was inspired by somebody who did some kind of a call like that. And I thought that would be really cool. And I also wanted to practice channeling because when I first started, it's been like a year and a half ago, I was not as confident with my abilities because it's that muscle you're exercising, right? And the messages that came through back then were more superficial. They weren't as deep. My confidence wasn't as high. So all these wonderful people coming forward, bringing their energy to our gathering lifts me up and helps me to elevate my ability as a channel. So they're blessing me in the doing of it. And it's just been so wonderful and it feeds my soul. This is why I'm here, to help people get information and connect with their inner guidance and their guide team. So it's just a blessing to me. And then it, of course, gives me all this lovely content that I can share on YouTube so that the world can hear about these amazing Akashic records that are the tool that they should be using to make their lives easier.
Yeah. No, it was very cool. I mean, you started off with an amazing, again, meditation. That was just phenomenal. And I think I posted it on Facebook if anyone's following me, or if they can always reach out to me or you and get that, find out where that is on YouTube. But that was beautiful. And then, yeah, you spent like almost 2 hours answering questions. And a lot of the people that were on the call obviously were people that have worked with you in the past. So that was really cool too, that they come back to you for more guidance and to work with their guides and get more information. It was beautiful.
Yeah, there are some people who show up almost every month, and then every month there are new people. So it's always a fun mix.
Mm-hmm. How did you discover that you had this gift and really kind of get started?
I had this horse who had a real problem, and she had been my dream horse, but had been injured, and I didn't understand what she was going through to get her the help. And by the time I did start to conceive, people were telling me I had to put her down. She'd become a nightmare, and she was dangerous. So in trying to help her, one of the things I did was took an animal communication course because I wanted to know what was going on with her. And in that course, it opened up this latent gift of psychic ability that when I did it, I suddenly had a flashback to being like 4 years old and being very aware of the presence of Jesus in my life and a feeling of a connection. I'd totally forgotten about that. It was just erased, through life. So opening that door then led me to trying other things. So I tried mediumship for a while because, if you can talk to dead animals, you can talk to dead people. Then I started channeling because I had listened to an Abraham, and Abraham said to one of the guests, "You too can channel." And I thought, okay, Abraham, I'm going to try that. So I did some channeling, and it never really felt comfortable to me. I didn't trust what came through. Then one day I discovered the Akashic Records. When I started going into the records, it was like heaven opened up the gates. The angels sang and said, "Welcome home, baby." And it was just that connection. This
Wow.
is what I was born to do.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. That's amazing. Have you had any other like experiences that you feel just were really kind of life changing along this lines that you want to share, feel comfortable sharing, especially like, because I just think it's inspiring when people share their stories of working with the guides.
All the time. One of the things that came through when I had my own soul introduction reading was I started connecting the dots and being able to look back over the path that my life had taken. And I could see, oh my gosh, when I was building databases all those years ago, I was practicing, getting ready to access the database of the Akashic Records. So
Oh,
nothing was wasted. It was all part of the journey that led me here. And even that detour that I took with my horse, where I gave up databases and I thought I was going to be doing rehabilitation for lame horses. I learned a lot. It opened some doors, but that wasn't my ultimate destination. That led me, though, to the records. So it's always they're throwing breadcrumbs out to help us find the path that our soul intended all along. And the
mhm.
thing is, that's really cool. People need to understand it doesn't matter what path you take, actually, because you're still going to reach the same destination. What will be different are the experiences along the way.
Yeah. No, and there's so much in that that I just really appreciate. Number one, it's always been amazing to me when people think that, any mistakes or failures, and I'm just using those words, are bad. And they're just really not. Like it's just what you're learning along the way and how your path is going to just, keep being constructed. And I feel like I could write a book on all of mine. So I keep following those breadcrumbs every day. Definitely.
That's
So,
perfect. I can actually share something with you that I didn't think about sharing that day because we had so much we were talking about. But one of the things I do when I read is I measure your vibrational frequency. And along the way, I've started getting curious about what was it when you were born, because I'm looking to find out what your progress is up to this point. And
Oh,
it's not something I always share with people because ego can get involved and you don't want to send people off on that path. But I can tell you that in a lifetime, in the past, it would be pretty normal to only go up about 2 to 3 tenths of a point in an entire lifetime. But we're now in a time where things are accelerating. So you, Melinda, have gone up 6 tenths of a point since you
oh,
were,
since I was born,
which is pretty phenomenal. And that I wanted to share it with you because it's validation for all the work that you've done on yourself.
which has been a lot.
Yeah. It shows. And so I wanted you to know that because it's important.
No, I appreciate, I'm laughing at myself because some days I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, no, that's really amazing actually. And I was thinking about something the other day, actually, I think it was before the reading, but, and I was thinking about our soul's journey, and you can tell me what you think after I share this in regards to comparison. So let's say, I'm just going to make up an example with myself. Let's say that as a coach, if I got into this rut of comparing myself against XYZ coach who, everyone knows her name and, she's just super popular and very abundant, however you want to put it, I kind of start looking at it in regards to, her soul, like her journey is just ahead of me, right? Versus where I'm at. And it kind of takes the pressure off if you look at it that way from like a soul perspective versus as a human perspective. Does that make sense?
It does. But the wisest thing to do is just don't compare yourself to anybody because really it's about your journey and it's going to be different for everybody.
Right.
So
True.
all you're doing is trying to just get better every day.
Right. And I am very lucky. I actually don't feel I do that, but I was just thinking in general, as I was like just walking, that would be, possibly be, if you agree, a good way if someone you're working with is comparing, you know what I mean, is really
Yeah.
struggling with comparison, which then could lead to fear and lack of confidence. Like all of that sometimes gets bundled together. And, if you explain it from a soul level, then just keep going, keep making those improvements, keep making those steps every day, that hopefully that they would be able to see it that way and just gain some confidence through
Yeah,
that.
I think society kind of programs us to be competitive that way.
Mm-hmm.
But truly, if you were to be inside that other person's mind, you would find out they're also doing that. They're comparing themselves to somebody and coming up lacking. We all tend to do that, and it's so destructive to us and unnecessary. So really, it's just about being your best self every day. And I think your shift of perspective is beautiful. Put it on the soul level,
Mm-hmm.
elevate it for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I was going with that. But you're also, it's funny you say that because Ryan and I talk about that sometimes. He'll get into a bit of a comparison and he's gotten so much better, like, oh my gosh, light years better. But once in a while it might come up with something and I'll be like, there's other people that are comparing themselves to you too. Like it's just sometimes people get in like a little bit of a funk with that. So I think that's true. It's the same aspect with judgment. I've heard, some quotes where, people will be like, don't worry too much about being judged because the person who's judging you, they're being judged too. You know what I mean? It all goes like in a circle. So you have to just let it go.
It is, and it's so silly when you look at it from the bigger perspective.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, your book is amazing. I can't even tell you how many pages I dog-eared. Is that a word? Dog-eared, right? When you fold down the pages?
It is, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I wanted to just read a little bit, and then if you want to share um, some of this, because I think it's just really important, especially for someone who is, curious and learning, and maybe, this is something very new to them. But I love in one of your chapters, you talk about energetic alignment. And I'm going to read from Debra's book, everyone. We're all composed of energy at the quantum level. Science has proven this. Our energy has a vibrational frequency. Think of like tuning into a radio station. Your frequency is a direct result of spiritual work you've done in both your past and present lives. The more work, the higher the frequency. Being in alignment means that your soul and your third dimensional self are broadcasting on the same frequency. That's living your soul purpose in alignment. That's harmony, and life flows smoothly. And I love this because I do think that recognizing your energy and also recognizing when you're in alignment are just so important and just so vital to happiness, to confidence, to moving forward and taking steps. So I loved how you put that. I thought it was very clear for people that are just starting to figure this out, you know?
It is. It's so enlightening when you stop thinking yourself of just a body, an ego body, and you understand there's that soul. But the reason alignment is so important is because your soul is always striving to go higher, but ego body is like putting on the brakes and holding you back, trying to keep you safe. So there's that constant friction that's happening there. When you get your ego to come along with you and to start rising up, life is easier because you're in alignment. So when you're in that place where ego is pulling you back and putting on the brakes, that actually causes like energetic sparks, because there's a discord between the frequency of the ego body and the soul, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important to get them together.
Yes. And can you share about that? Because I love that one story in your book too, about having them meet. I don't know how you put that.
Yeah, well, my guides one day told me that I really should have a powwow with my ego because, you know, ego's just doing all this stuff to hold me back, and soul really wanted to soar. So we did it. I went into a little meditative state and I sat down with ego, higher self, and soul. And the funny thing is the ego showed up in this long buttoned up trench coat, arms folded, you know, really in a mood to not cooperate. And so higher self and soul starts talking to ego, asking her, what does she want? And she said she's really tired of being pushed around all the time and she wanted to have a say in things. So we negotiated. And soul explained to ego that, hey, we've got all these exciting things we want to do. And if you would just loosen up a little bit and let us expand, you would enjoy it. So by the end of our conversation, she had unbuttoned her coat a little bit. The arms were more relaxed and she was willing to try it. Still wasn't convinced, but she was willing to give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was amazing. And just to share, I know you've read my article, but it was very funny as synchronicities and timing that I was reading your book and I was very comfortable in a chair in my backyard. It was beautiful out and I was reading your book and I was really happy. And there was this training that had come up on my calendar and I didn't accept it. I put it as tentative. And I had this feeling that the training was not going to be something I needed, that it just wouldn't probably be the best use of my time. But I was wrestling with, oh, should I be on this training? What's going to happen if I'm not in the training? And then I was like, no, I'm very happy. My soul is very happy reading this book and sitting here in this chair and just enjoying this moment. And so even not really realizing it, I was having this moment where I was wrestling through that as I was reading your book. And I decided to not go beyond the training. And again, was very happy with that decision. My soul was very happy. I found out a few hours later that the training was really a waste of time. And I was so glad that I didn't go use that time for that, right? So I think that just the more aware you become too of your choices and try to really understand where they're coming from, that you'll be able to make smarter choices that just make you happier and send you on the right path.
Yeah, that's a super important realization you had, because in that moment you were following your intuition and the feeling. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're looking for every day. Yeah. The more you do that, the better things get, the better your choices will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm continue to work on this. I think it's a work in progress, but and every day I take steps, but yeah.
Yeah, we're all works in progress, and that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. It's our
By the
journey.
way, that's my dog snoring in the background in case you're hearing that.
Oh no, I can't, but how awesome. That's great. We have three dogs and one actually snores really loudly, so I totally get it. Well, Deborah, is there anything else you would like to share? I know you have a beautiful mantra. I definitely want you to share that.
Yeah, so through this work, what I've come to learn is that the most important question in life to ask is what feeds my soul. When you figure that out and you start doing it, you're unstoppable. And you figure that out by coming into alignment with your soul. So you can spend a lifetime figuring that out, or you can just go to your Akashic Records, get the information, and start using it today. That's why these records are so important.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. How can everyone follow you, get in touch with you, schedule a reading with you? Give me all the scoop.
Okay, they can go to my website. It's akashaunleashed.com. Get more information there. My email is there. They can shoot me an email. There are free meditations on that site. One in particular I'd like to encourage them to check out. It's called Wellbeing Attunement. It's so beautiful. It's like taking a mini vacation. When you come out of this meditation, you're going to feel relaxed, rejuvenated, refreshed. It's just a marvel. It's another download. So I highly encourage checking out that meditation. Then also go to my YouTube. That's under my name. So it's Debbra, Debbra, Lupien. That's Lup like Peter, IEN. Go to my YouTube. There's tons and tons of videos there with channeled messages, with lessons, all kinds of information there for you to soak up.
That's fantastic. And how do they get the heads up on when you're doing your next Zoom YouTube recording, the monthly one we talked about?
There is a link on all of those videos inviting them to join me. They just need to sign up for my list. That's the only cost, is your email, so that I can send you your Zoom link and you can join me. And that is akashaunleashed.com/VIP, because anybody who's on my email list is my VIP and they get this special treatment.
Awesome. I'm on your email list. Thanks.
Yes, you are. You're VIP. Oh, and the other thing, they can find my book on Amazon.
Oh,
It's
yes.
Akasha Unleashed, the Missing Manual to You.
Which is amazing. It is truly at the top of my pile. It's an amazing book. So enlightening. All the gifts you share so generously, I really appreciate that. For anyone out there that listens to guided meditations, I'm going to say most of the good ones charge money. So Deborah's very generous, and I truly hope that you check out the ones she suggested, as well as even my past podcast. I will put all of her information in the show notes. And Deborah, this was amazing as always. I thank you so much.
It was wonderful chatting with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.